still going on, the main fire there, but the weather is helping. I've asked our teams to make sure they continue to work very closely with the municipalities of Shelburne and Barrington. I'm happy to see the wardens here today. I was happy to see them yesterday, but they're working on a plan to help you see your homes and provide information to you. That's happening in real time. This is all very positive. I also want people to know that the opening of the 103 is a priority. When it is safe to open, the highway will open. Staff have been running through to assess the condition of the road and any possible safety issues. There's still been a lot of gear and contractors on the road that we're building fire breaks, and we're making access for the firefighting teams. So when it is safe, the road will be open. That is a priority. And I understand that road could open as early with escorted traffic as early as tomorrow morning. So, but I want you to know that's a main priority. We understand that's important. It'll be a very positive thing to get that Highway 103 back opened. And overall across the province, the change in the weather and the change in the overall fire situation mean that we can lift the ban on activity and travel in the woods. This is very positive. I know this ban has had an impact on many people, and I want to thank Nova Scotians for doing their part to respect the ban and keep the province safe. So effective at 12:01 tonight, the travel ban will be lifted, except of course for evacuated areas. We must continue to respect the evacuation orders, but that's a good thing to know that that's being lifted. So, but I'm also pleading with anyone who's going into the woods, don't be stupid. Be safe, be fire smart. Don't flick a dart. Don't have a bonfire. Don't do something that could start a fire. Be responsible and be mindful of the conditions across the province. So when the fire ban can be lifted, it will be lifted. We're just not there yet, but we can lift the travel ban. Anyone who continues to who chooses to ignore the fire ban, the $25,000 fine is still in effect, and tickets will continue to be issued. So respect the fire ban. Be smart. Be smart as we move forward. We're a changed province after these fires in many ways. Emotional scars run deep and will take time. The financial scars run deep and will take time. But I've been so impressed by the Blue Noser spirit that has been shining through communities, helping communities, just seeing people step up has been such a good thing. And there's more work to be done, but we're moving in the right direction. Thanks, Heather. Thanks, everyone.
Important information. Thank you, Premier. Now allow me to introduce His Worship, Mayor Mike Savage of the Halifax Regional Municipality. Go ahead, Mayor.
Thank you very much, Heather, Premier, ladies and gentlemen. I'm pleased to be here. I am joined by our Director of Emergency Management, Erica Fleck, who I'm going to ask she has a couple of words to say when I'm finished, if that's okay, as well as, of course, answering questions. I want to thank everybody for joining us today and thank the province for hosting this press conference again. While we are concerned about our fellow Nova Scotians in places like Shelburne and Barrington and others, I'm pleased to say that the Tantallon wildfire is officially under control. Now that means that they're contained, but I'm not expected to move, but the fires are not still all out. Firefighters, both career and volunteer, from HRM, DND, and others, and so many jurisdictions that joined the fight against these fires, have been doing extraordinary work. And as I was mentioning to the Premier early today when we chatted, it is so heartening to see the incredible cooperation between all the orders of government, D&D, and others. And I want to thank those other volunteer fire departments who sent assistance. Mother Nature deserves some thanks as well. We have all learned just how much we are at the whim of Mother Nature. Many of us have never followed the rain forecast and particularly the wind forecast as much. So thank you, Bob Robichaud, for giving us a break. Halifax Fire will have a briefing at 5 o'clock and they can tell you more. While we're moving to the recovery phase, the needs, while different, are certainly still urgent for us. I want to thank the more than 16,000 residents who have cooperated with mandatory evacuations. The terrible uncertainty of when they can go back to their homes and what awaits them when they get there. We're making good progress on shrinking the evacuation zone. We heard the emergency alert just about 10 minutes before this press conference began, letting people know that they can move back into their homes in some areas. If you are returning to your home, please be prepared to stop at a checkpoint. You will have to show identification. In addition to those who've lost their homes, thousands of their neighbors in the most heavily impacted areas remain under an evacuation order. We know they want to go home. HRM is working with partners, including Nova Scotia Power, the Nova Scotia Department of Environment, Halifax Water, RCMP, and Public Health to assess these neighborhoods for hazards that could include things like contaminated drinking water or soil, air quality issues, smoke damage, power hazards, and other dangers, for example, debris. It's not easy to tell people this, but you must be prepared to be out for a number of days yet in those areas. For those who've lost their homes, please know that additional work will be undertaken to address hazards on your properties before you gain access. It's a devastating thing to lose a home, and we will work with the province, the feds, and anybody else toward disaster relief and housing options. Erica will speak just a little bit about the return to the evacuation areas and what to do when you get there. I will also say that we recognize that we have to adjust our solid waste schedule for things like spoiled food and other things. So we are taking extra measures for that. You can check that on the website. It's been interesting. We have exercised our powers during the state of local emergency to build 2 permanent gravel gated emergency exits on municipal land to provide additional travel options in the case of an emergency. A clearing from the Halliburton Hills subdivision to connect Buckingham Drive to Highway 103, that's under construction, and a clearing from the Highland Park subdivision from the end of Sylvania Terrace to Hammonds Plains Road. Construction will begin in the coming days. I want to thank as well with the DNRR folks, and I hope it's okay to specifically mention Paul Schnurr, who's from the Premier's part of the Woods, who has been here and has done an exceptional job working with Erica and everybody else. The Daves, I learned so much listening to you guys on these calls and in your briefings. It's been exceptional. I want to thank D&D. So, you know, you will see that Canadian Armed Forces are in the municipality, but they are being sent to other areas, to Shelburne, Barrington, and areas like that. But D&D has been very helpful to us over the last week. And the last word from me, I want to thank, you know, a number of elected officials who have been getting calls and have been trying to assist their constituents. In particular, Councillor Pam Lovelace, who has been doing remarkable work, trying to connect people, trying to get information, and trying to be as honest and forthright as she can be. Lisa Blackburn, Tim Outfit, many others. Similarly, we have had visits at the EOC from Ben Jessom, Lena Diab, Ian Rankin's been in constant touch. Minister Steve Craig, of course, has been all over this as well. Just want people to understand that decisions about evacuations and safety issues, while politicians are ultimately responsible, we take the advice and we follow the direction of those who know exactly what they're doing. It's I've said before, don't call me if you're looking to get back into your home, because I'll just listen to the experts. And the same goes for people like Pam, who has been getting many, many calls. So thank you, Pam Lovelace. Everybody's trying to do their best. It's all hands on deck. Erica, could you just say a couple of words about the relaxation of evacuation? And then if people have questions, we'll answer them as well. Thank you all very much. Erica?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Good afternoon, everybody. So I just want to say that, as the mayor mentioned, you know, we're trying to get people home as quick as possible, but we also have to make sure that it's done safely. And as the Premier mentioned, you know, the fire is under control, but there are still other issues that we need to look at. So as we start to return people, and on the updated website maps today, there is phase 1, 2, and 3. So phase 1, the alert just went out prior to this press conference to say that those residents could return this afternoon, starting at 3 o'clock. But we still have to look at water supplies. We still have to look at garbage. We still have to look at, is there damage in and around there? Are the egress routes safe? So all of those things that we need to look at. So even though from a fire perspective, it may be safe, we also have to look at all the other concerns. We're working very closely, as the mayor mentioned, with Nova Scotia Environment, with our Halifax water. We do have, again, everything's updated on the website. We have potable water going out into the communities because we know that, you know, the wells may be contaminated. So these are all the things that we need to make sure that it's safe before people get back. And we are providing security and will continue to do so in neighborhoods that are not open to ensure that residents' belongings are safe. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mayor Savage and Ms. Fleck. And now we'll turn things over to Warden Eddie Nickerson with the municipality of the District of Barrington. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you, Premier Houston and Mayor Savage. First, it is great to hear that the Tantallon and Hammonds Plains wildfires are now under control. I think I can speak for everyone in Shelburne County that this is the type of news that we were hoping to hear and we are hoping to hear and receive in the days ahead for the fires in our communities. I'd like to extend my thanks to the firefighters, the contractors, businesses, community members, community organizations for continuing to work and keep our community safe. It certainly is an incredibly stressful time for Barrington and Shelburne communities. I encourage you to please check on one another and support your neighbors the best you can. Sometimes a simple phone call can go a long way. Remember, we are all in this together and we'll get through it together. By continuing to follow province-wide restrictions, we are keeping one another safe and reducing wildfire risk. Yesterday was a good day for fighting fires. Lot of rain. Today is another wet and cold day, and we're hopeful for an additional 65 mil of rainfall by tomorrow morning. And it was pretty nice today. So Mother Nature is working in our favor, and the additional on-the-ground resources in Shelburne County from the Canadian Armed Forces and firefighters from the United States is certainly a welcome sight to our residents and firefighting crews. An area of concern for us at this time is our construction and demolition debris disposal site on Highway 103. The municipality of Barrington, the Barrington town of Clark's Harbor EMO and industrial emergency response specialists are currently working to address an active underground fire. Additional resources are being brought in to contain the fire and mitigate any further involvement. As is the case throughout Shelburne County, residents in the area should continue to be prepared to evacuate. For those that have been evacuated, we know this can be a deeply traumatic time for you and your loved ones. There are mental health supports available to you, including mental health and addiction staff from Nova Scotia on site at the Shelburne and Barrington Comfort Centers between 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. These comfort centers will remain open to support those that have been evacuated. Barrington and Shelburne, your municipalities and communities are behind you and will support you throughout difficult times today and moving forward. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Warden Nickerson. And now I'd like to introduce Warden Penny Smith for the municipality of the District of Shelburne.
Thank you so much, Premier Houston, Mayor Savage, and Warden Nickerson. How wonderful it is to see the rain today. It has certainly lifted my spirits, and I hope it has for others as well. First, I need to say how incredibly proud we are of everyone living in the municipalities of Shelburne and Barrington and the surrounding communities and throughout the province. Just this morning, when I was opening up the Birchtown Community Center, a former RCMP member of the Shelburne detachment, who now works in Kingston, was waiting with a truckload of food and other supplies that was collected from his subdivision. The outpouring of support that has been shown has been overwhelming. Thanks to the generosity of Nova Scotians, acceptance of donations at the community centers and at the Department of Natural Resources and Renewable Space camps in Shelburne County are being paused while teams take inventory of current items received. We will communicate the items that are specifically needed as soon as inventory has been taken and we know what is needed. We do remain cautiously optimistic that in the coming days, we will hear that the fires in our communities are contained. We aren't there yet, but I'm confident in the work of the firefighters and support personnel on the ground that we will get there. We received wonderful news yesterday that the mandatory and recommended evacuation orders for Lake Road and Sandy Point through to Jordan Branch Road were lifted. Those returning home should continue to stay out of the wildfire area, be mindful of first responder vehicles, and should follow the Nova Scotia government's guidelines on well water safety after a wildfire. It is vital that until an evacuation order is lifted, everyone must stay out of the evacuation zones to allow our firefighters and frontline resources to do their jobs. Those who have been evacuated, please register with the Canadian Red Cross. Registration ensures people can be contacted while away from home and can be reached with information on services and assistance that may become available to them during this difficult time. The large-scale coordinated operation between different levels of government continues to grow with additional resources. Assessors with the province are currently working to assess the status of properties and infrastructure in the impacted areas. As stated yesterday, we will be communicating with property owners in the impacted areas as soon as we do have that assessment information. We've been told that this is likely to occur on Tuesday, June 6th at the earliest, but it is important to remember that assessments take time and need to be done with safety as a top priority. With Barrington Lake being the only out-of-control fire left in the province, work is underway on planning the next steps for our communities. We are grateful for a 6-member recovery task force from the province of Alberta, who will be joining us tomorrow, Monday, June 5th, to support us with recovery measures. As a reminder, all schools in Shelburne County will remain closed Monday, June 5th and Tuesday, June 6th. To keep in the know with immediate up-to-date information, please refer to the Barrington and Town of Clarks Harbor Emergency Management Organization Facebook page, the Shelburne County East Emergency Management Facebook page, and the Government of Nova Scotia Emergency Alerts web page. As we run from the danger, our emergency responders, including our firefighters, run into it, and they risk their lives to protect the lives and property in our community. I believe we all owe them a debt that will be next to impossible to repay. Thank you.
Thank you, Warden. Let's check in now with Scott Tingley, Manager of Forest Protection with Department of Natural Resources and Renewables.
Thanks, Heather. Good afternoon, everybody. An update here from the Provincial Wildfire Coordination Center. So to date, we've had 210 wildfires. Total area burned now estimated at 26,680 hectares. And as the Premier mentioned there, still have 5 active wildfires out there. So crews have had success with a lot of help from the rain as well, extinguishing some of those other small fires that have been out in the landscape. And one of those fires still out of control. So the other 4 are now under control. Just for some context, we did pull some 5-year averages out just to share. So the 5-year average for hectares burned is 940 hectares. And that includes last year when we actually had an unusually large fire for Nova Scotia. So it was 3,000 hectares. So when you take that fire out of the last 5 years, on average, we burn about 320 hectares for about 135 fires. So just for some context for where we're at in this season, it's only the beginning of June. We do still have plenty of summer ahead of us as a province and as a country. And so we're all, kind of in the same mindset this morning. We're certainly welcoming the rain, but we're not letting our guard down. There's still a lot of work to do. I'll echo Warden Penny Smith there. We're cautiously optimistic. Certainly going to get a big lift with the rain here, but we're still much in the planning phase of even as of yesterday receiving a crew from the US. We have another planned inbound tomorrow. So we're continuing to work very closely with the incident command teams at the fires to assess what their needs are for the continuing work in the weeks ahead. That's all I have for now, Heather. Happy to answer questions in a bit.
Excellent context. Thank you, Scott. Let's check in with the first of our Daves. Dave Rockwood, Public Information Officer for Shelburne. Go ahead, Dave.
Yeah, thank you very much. So yeah, down here in the Barrington Lake Fire Complex, as Scott just indicated, just moments ago, we have classified the Lake Road fire and the Pubnico fire as under control. So that will free up a few resources for us to put over towards the Barrington fire, and we'll be going into a patrol and mop up status on those. So we can put some more resources to focus into the Barrington Lake area, and we're feeling pretty confident that those other two fires are not going to be causing us any trouble anymore. So we've been very lucky, as Warden Eddie indicated. We have had quite a bit of rain. We've had 35 mils as of first thing this morning, and it has not stopped. And it is fantastic to see. Not a person is complaining out there. I met with crews last night. They were sopping wet when they got back off the fire line, but they were smiles. So on to the Barrington Lake fire. It's still considered out of control. 24,980 hectares in total. We've got 192 personnel down here in the area, and still have those 49 pieces of heavy equipment. Our 4 water bombers that are on loan to us from Montana, the CL-415s, they're stationed in Greenwood for us. So if anything does come up over the next few days as it starts to warm up on us, they're there for immediate response to our location. And as well, our aircraft and a number of private aircraft are still available to us. We've had Nova Scotia Power in the area. First thing this morning, they were testing the power grids, checking for damage, making it. They're in our exclusion zone, doing the repairs they need to make sure that the power is going to be back on and ready to run, and that the infrastructure is safe. We have been working closely with the Department of Public Works down here. They've been inspecting the highway, inspecting the side roads, making sure plastic culverts haven't burnt out and melted, compromising the highway. We do have that burnt bridge on the Port Clyde Road that will be barricaded off, but I have been informed that soon enough they will, they're hoping in the next week or so that they will actually have a temporary structure in place for that to link up that roadway. Before I go any further, I want to thank all the firefighters, the local municipality, all the cooperation down here. And I want to put a big shout out to all the contractors that brought in the heavy iron, all the forestry contractors that came out. They've walked away from the work they had. They walked away from jobs that they had ongoing. They didn't bat an eye, and they brought down, and they've been putting in long hours running machines, just right till the bitter end each night. And yeah, they should be commended for that. The next big one I want to let you guys know, the Premier hinted towards it. He thought it was coming soon. Since we've started this broadcast, I've got a text message in, and I want to just announce this. So as of 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, firefighters, we've secured the 103 corridor, and it is safe for vehicles to pass through. So at this time, there will be no access off of the 103, and those areas will be restricted to the public until firefighters can confirm they are safe. And there will be pilot vehicles with escort vehicles through the fire area from one side to the other to ensure their safety. But that's a big one down here. There's a lot of business, a lot of industry down here, and a lot of just people in general rely on that road. And we're really happy that 10 o'clock tomorrow morning, that's going to be open and running. So we're getting back to where those little wins that we've been looking for every day this week. It's been a tough week down here. And yeah, so we're moving forward, and we want to thank everybody. We're hoping, as Warden Eddie had alluded to, we're hoping that the rain just keeps on coming. Not one of us is concerned or worried about being wet. And yeah, we're hoping to top out by tomorrow morning at about 65 millimeters total over the last 48 hours.
Good news. Thanks for that, Dave. Let's go check in with the other Dave, Dave Steeves, Public Information Officer for Tantallon. Go ahead.
Good afternoon. Just a quick update on the 10 Talon fire. So our final measurement is 950 hectares. We are 100% contained and the situation is under control. That being said, this fire is not extinguished. There is still an extensive amount of work for our firefighters left to do. This is a very labor-intensive process to actually call this fire out. And given the many variables that our men and women on the ground face this week, we're going to take every measure possible to ensure that this is extinguished. So declaring this fire out will likely take some time yet, and it won't be done until our command team on the ground is fully satisfied with the situation. Some of the resources that we have on site for today, we have over 30 firefighters from HRM, with 9 apparatus, 40 Department of Natural Resources and Renewable staff, excuse me, as well as we still have 3 excavators on site, and they are continuing to work and shore up some of the guards that we do have in our area. Our main objective for today was to go out there and continue to extinguish all hotspots around the homes in the area. So our firefighters are actually going property to property and ensuring that there are no issues and doing their very best to pick out any possible areas of concern. Like I said before, things are wet, but just because they're wet does not mean that we are totally finished in this endeavor. We are very, very pleased with the work that the men and women up here have been able to do this week. This has been the longest 7 days of many people's lives up here, and I want to take an opportunity to thank all of the businesses, our partnering agencies. Like Rockwood said, the contractors up here have been absolutely fantastic. People from all across the province have put their life on hold to come to the aid of other communities, and that is the Nova Scotia spirit. So on behalf of the Incident Command team up here, I would like to extend my sincere gratitude to all the people involved. And thank you very much.
Thanks for that, Dave. And finally, let's check in with Bob Robichaud for an update on the weather. Are you going to make Dave Rockwood's wish come true, Bob?
Well, it's looking positive, Heather. Thank you. Just before my comments here, en français encore une fois, je vais faire mes commentaires en anglais, mais s'il y a des questions en français, je vais prendre les questions en français. So conditions continue to look very positive here over the next 24 to 48 hours. Across the province today, we're still in that cool, damp, moist northeasterly flow. That's really giving temperatures way below normal. Temperatures between 9 and 12 degrees as we speak. That will continue over the next 12 to 24 hours. We had some rain, as Dave Rockwood mentioned, continuing in the western part of the province. There was a break over eastern and central parts of the province, but that's okay. That was expected. What we're seeing is the rain continuing to move in an easterly direction, so it should spread across most of the province over the next few hours. So we're looking at, a light to moderate soaking rain across most of mainland Nova Scotia. There were a few lightning strikes offshore earlier today, and don't be surprised if tonight or into tomorrow we could see a few rumbles of thunder, but that will bring in additional rain as well. Again, looking beyond Monday into Tuesday, still looking at some rain by about Tuesday. That rain will start to get a little bit more scattered, but continue on in showers, small pockets of rain into the middle part of the week. If we're looking at total rainfall between now and Thursday afternoon, our models, most of the models, in fact, are indicating anywhere from 60 to 80 additional millimeters of rainfall. So that's on top of what's already fallen right now. Looking at some of the rain gauges in the western end of Halifax, near the Tantallon area, we're looking at anywhere from 40 to 50 millimeters that have fallen so far. And in terms of down in Shelburne County, our weather station, as of just about an hour ago, indicated about 43, 44 millimeters. So that's on top. That's an updated rainfall for that area. So again, looking at very positive conditions in terms of the rain over the next few days. Looking at air quality, again, that's also improved. We've ended our air quality special weather statement for the Halifax area. It is now restricted to the southwestern tip of the province, where that remains in effect right now, but that is currently under review. So that's it for the weather. Heather, back over to you.
If you had told me a week ago cold and rainy would be my favorite weather forecast, I wouldn't have believed you. I'm a changed person. Okay, now let's go to questions from media who are participating online. We've got quite a few participants, so we'll try to move through as many as we can in the time we have available. We'll stick with that one question, one follow-up format, and if you could indicate who your question's for, that would be a great help. We'll start things off with Sarah Plowman with CTV.
Thanks very much, everyone. This is for Premier Houston and possibly DNRR as well. I've been hearing from a lot of residents down in the Shelburne area who are frustrated that help didn't arrive earlier. And so I wanted to ask you this. When was outside help to fight this fire asked for? Who did you ask? And what was the answer that you received?
Thanks very much. I mean, look, help was asked for as soon as help was needed to be asked for. I mean, when you think about this fire started, and DNRR would know specifically, but it was initially started. It was contained, so they had containment of this fire, and then the weather changed. The winds came up. People remember very windy, and the fire kind of started up again. So I know there are there's some chatter, especially around social media. We spoke to this earlier in the week. I find that type of chatter pretty disappointing. I mean, if you look at the quality of the firefighting teams we have here in this province, and the response that we deliver, over 208 fires so far this season. The response is spectacular. These guys at DNRR and the volunteer firefighters and the people who respond, they give it their all. So when there's help needed, it's given. If they ask for a fire ban, okay. To restrict travel in the woods, no problem. We ask for help as it's needed, as quickly as it's needed. So, I mean, the province had significant fires at the same time. That put incredible pressure on people. So and the other thing that I want you to know, Sarah, is that the mutual aid system across the country, the Canadian network, these folks across the country, they meet every single day and talk about what's happening in provinces. So even if there's not a fire in Nova Scotia today, still meeting with the mutual aid people across the country and talking about what resources might be available, what needs are. That's why earlier in the week, people were asking, well, why was there 20 Nova Scotia firefighters up in the Northwest Territories? Well, the reason is because they needed them. And we had that capacity at that time, so we sent it up there. And we needed it back, we got it back. We needed bombers from Newfoundland, we got them. Those bombers were on site within 24 hours, I believe. We needed bombers from New Brunswick, we got them. They were happy to share them. Hose from Ontario, truckload arrived. Firefighters from across the country were responding. So I just want to, I can't state enough how disappointing it is for this type of a narrative to be kind of festered through social media, through mainstream media, wherever it is. When you have people that are working so hard to respond to these fires, and I will tell you, every resource that they need, they ask for, and every resource that they ask for, we try to get as a province. But the mutual aid system across the country is always talking to each other. So. The question, your three questions, the answers are: when was help needed? As soon as it was needed, it was asked for. When did it come? As soon as it could come, it came. So that's a remarkable fire, and the response has been spectacular. And I want to assure the people of Shelburne County and Barrington and the entire province of Nova Scotia that forest fires in this province are taken extremely serious, and they're responded to by very professional people.
Thank you.
Sarah,
My next question is, can someone describe what it will look like tomorrow along the 103 highway? I'm understanding there might be escorts, can people drive themselves? Do they have to wait to be escorted? If you can give us just sort of a visual idea of what this is going to look like for people who want to get from one point to another.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah, I'll field this. So, Sarah, we're still in the preliminary development on this. We're reaching out in the last hour. Like I said, it was even since this press briefing started, we got the notification. I got a notification on my phone. So our liaison officer is in coordination with transportation or public works, RCMP, security companies, all those other agencies that need to be in the know for this situation. So you're going to see an escort through. So you're going to think of it as a traffic construction work. You're going to be escorted through. Every road that is in that area will have security, most likely a police officer or a hired security group to ensure that you cannot leave that roadway. And that's for the public safety, the firefighter safety, and for the individuals that have lost homes that have not been notified yet, or because we're still in the process of collecting that data, so that they can find out from the appropriate agencies and not from some random individual driving through. So that's where we're looking at that.
Thanks. Moving along, we'll go to the Herald with Aaron Bezic. Go ahead, Aaron. Aaron, can you hear me? We'll circle back to Aaron. Next, we'll go to CBC's Vern Ramasar. Vern?
Hi, this is for Mayor Savage. There have been calls for emergency exits from some communities in the Tantallon area for years. Why has it taken a crisis like this to get them started?
Well, as you heard me indicate in my comments, we are looking at putting some exits through to the highway for more egress for communities. Our planning and development processes now include public safety as a priority in terms of getting people in and out of developments. And the number of these communities which have been in place for a long time probably need more support than they have in terms of getting out. We're just very glad that nobody was hurt. We don't think that anybody was killed. There's no reports of that. And every development that we now look at is very much connected with our fire and emergency preparedness officials to make sure that we have the enough ways to get in and out of all of our communities.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Vern.
I'm just wondering, but has the issue been brought up before Council?
About specific communities, I can tell you that there has been some development proposals in that area that were not allowed because of the fact that there wasn't sufficient ways of getting out of that community. And as we build, we need to build, and as we need to build, we need to make sure that we have safety, emergency preparedness, but also environmental concerns front of mind. We have a need for housing in this community, as do a lot of places, but we're going to do it safely.
Moving along, we'll go to Acadia Broadcasting, Joe Thompson. Joe?
Hi there. My question is for Mayor Savage as well. You mentioned earlier in your remarks that you're discussing housing relief options with the federal government and provincial government. I'm wondering in what form those relief options will take and how soon victims can expect that information to be put out.
So, as you know, there's 151 people who are out of their home that are going to need, some assistance in order to get some. By assistance, I mean they're going to need to rebuild their homes. There's other people who are not going to be in their home in the short term. By short term, it could be 1 to 2 weeks who are in the evacuated area. And so, as I mentioned before, I've talked to Minister Lohr. I know that I think the Premier has been involved in some of these discussions as well. We're going to work together to provide those opportunities for people. And I think it's going to be led by the province, but the city is going to be very much part of it. And we want to make sure that people have places to go. That's the bottom line. As we turn from fighting the fire, and I'm coming to you from my office for the first time since a week ago, then those are the kind of issues that we need to look at, and as well as making sure that it's a safe environment for people to go back into. We're going to have to take a look at where people are going to live, and keep in mind also that there's close to 1,000 people on a list who don't have appropriate housing right now, and they can't get lost in that discussion either.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Joe.
Thank you. My follow-up is actually more of a technical question that perhaps one of the Daves might be able to answer. I'm wondering specifically with the Shelburne fire, on Friday, I know it was hovering around 21,000 hectares, and it's obviously grown since then to just under 25,000. How does a fire manage to grow like that, even through a day of sustained rain like we had yesterday?
Well, we haven't had any growth since the rain. So the growth was the evening before. We had a pretty well a 180-degree wind shift. So it shift from the coming out of the southwest, I believe it was, and then it kind of went counterclockwise around. So you can take it as almost if you had a hair dryer or a leaf blower on your fire pit, and it would come around like this, and the wind would increase throughout the time of the wind shift. So that started at 3 o'clock and it didn't end until 9 o'clock. So you can imagine it moved around on that northern boundary where we haven't been able to get crews in. It was just too far back into the woods. There was no access. Our aircraft were tied up with water bombing operations. You're going to get growth. That tied in with the winds, the low relative humidity, and the high temperatures. It's going to grow. Those are your three big factors that make fire grow in the woods: is your wind, your temperature, and your relative humidity. And when the higher the wind, the higher the temperature, and the lower the relative humidity, the more likely you're going to be in a extreme fire behavior situation. The longer it is since rain, the worse off you're going to be. And then there's other factors in there as well, but we're not going to get into that today.
Thanks for that, Dave. We'll check in with Aaron at the Herald. Aaron, are you there? Okay, we'll move along. Going to the Examiner, Jennifer Henderson.
Hi, it's actually Yvette D'Entremont here for the Halifax Examiner.
Great.
This message is, the first question I have is actually for Mayor Savage. I know Erica mentioned the potable water, and I was just wondering that as people begin moving back to neighborhoods where those private wells may need to be tested for contaminants, what's the status of your request to Ottawa for portable potable drinking water trailers?
I'm going to let maybe Erica, do you want to just speak to that?
Absolutely, Mr. Mayor. So the federal government said that we could use some heavy urban search and rescue funding for the purchase of the potable water trailers. So we're working on that. We've been working on that for a couple of days and hope to have them in place in the next upcoming days.
And if I could, I would also just say that the things that we require from Ottawa are not just relative to this fire in all cases. We have to be prepared. It is June the 4th. And with climate changing, we're going to need things like brush trucks and things like that on a more regular basis. So we will continue to have those conversations, and we appreciate the help we've been given. But I think we all understand at every fire department that the nature of fighting fires is changing, and it's going to have to be accelerated.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Yvette.
Yes, my follow-up is for the Premier. I'm just wondering if you happen to have any idea of if or when schools that were closed in the Sackville, Hammonds Plains, Tantallon area will be reopening to students.
No, sorry, I don't have that information right now, but happy to chat with the department and get you something back on that as soon as we can.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Sorry.
Let's go to Reuters with Narita Balu. Narita? Do we have Reuters on the line? Okay, moving along, we'll go to Radio Canada and Adrienne Blanc. Go ahead, Adrienne. Is it me? Okay, then we'll check in with CTV Stephen Wenzel.
Great, thank you. I understand it's very early to say how much damage has been caused by the wildfires in Nova Scotia. We know that post-tropical storm Fiona caused $660 million in insured damages. Do you have an estimate of when it comes to the damage done in Tantallon? Are we talking tens of millions, hundreds of millions?
I don't have one from the provincial perspective. I'm not sure if Mayor Savage has a municipal one, but I mean, obviously the focus has been squarely on fighting these fires, getting people back to their homes, keeping people informed of the status of their homes. So I don't have an estimate of the cost at this stage, but I will just reiterate that the cost will be significant for sure. And then some of that cost will be insured through people's own insurance policies. Some of it will be, we'll be looking as a province and with the municipalities to making a claim under the federal program, the Disaster Financial Assistance Program. So you'll have a number, and some of it will be insured, and some of it won't be insured, but so far right now, the focus has been on keeping people safe and preserving structures, and anytime somebody has asked for a resource, whether it's renting water bombers from Montana or purchasing supplies for firefighters, the answer has been yes. I mean, we're right in the middle of the crisis. The focus is on fighting the fires. That's the focus. The financial impact. We'll sort that out. We'll understand that, and we'll deal with that. But right now, it's preservation of life and property.
So I would say, sorry, can I just speak, Heather, just very briefly, very similar to what the Premier said. The cost has not been the major factor in any way. Whatever's been needed to be done, we have done, and we will do that. Our exceptional CIO, Kathy O'Toole, Jerry Blackwood in finance, Billy Moore in community safety, Erica, who's on this call, who's a superstar. We've been focused on keeping people alive and protecting property. There will be a cost, and people are turning their heads to that right now. I just don't know what it is.
Go ahead with your follow-up, Stephen.
Thank you. So these wildfires have taken a lot out of our firefighters. It's only June 4th, and we've seen more wildfires in the province than in all of 2022. How can Nova Scotians have confidence about future wildfire responses when many firefighters will likely be facing burnout before the summer season even begins?
Happy to. Scott, did you want to jump in on that one, or one of the Daves? But I would tell you that I have complete faith in our firefighting service. I would never question it for 1 second. And I think that it's important. I think it speaks to your question of this year so far, 208 fires. And I think if you asked most Nova Scotians how many forest fires they thought there'd been this year, they wouldn't be saying anything probably over 50 or 40, or let alone 100, let alone 200. And that's because even though they may be out of sight most of the time, we have 3 of them that are in sight on these calls with the Scott and the 2 Daves. But I can tell you there's an incredibly talented team there who just go to work and fight these fires, and they do it every single year. And I have complete faith that they'll be there when they're needed right now. But I don't know if Scott wanted to speak specifically to the resources.
Sure. Thanks, Premier. I'll just add a bit there. So we're very actively planning some cycling of crews and these incident management teams to manage fatigue. And not only physical fatigue, there's also resources on site in both locations to support psychological health for the firefighters as well. This is, it's another significant challenge that's coming more and more to the forefront every year. And I can tell you, we do know that those resources are being accessed. So people are asking for help. They're going to talk to people, working through some of the challenges that they are having. The physical fatigue, certainly, crews are prepared to put in the long days and the many days in a row. That's the nature of wildland firefighting. And of course, if we need help again, we'll ask for it and we'll get it from our friends and partners across the country and around the world.
But I, Heather, just say too, from a municipal point of view, that Chief Stubing Dave Meldrum, who people have met this week, and Roy Hollett and other professionals who've worked so well with all of these folks. We do have an exceptional firefighting crew. I had a chance yesterday, the Atlantic Association of Firefighting Professionals had their meeting in Halifax, coincidentally, and I had a chance to go over and talk to some of these folks. We need to make sure we take care of them, their physical needs, if there's any issues that come about because of what they've seen, any trauma, then we need to make sure that we deal with those. And but I have great confidence too in the people that are working in Halifax Fire. And I got to say, we're used to structure fires and sort of the Halifax Fire Department. The wildfires, we look to our friends, but our guys did exceptional work along with DNR and D&D and others. It's been a remarkable response, and we open our hearts to them. Thanks.
I see Adrian Blanc was able to rejoin, so we'll quickly check in with Adrian, and then we'll have to wrap things.
Yes, sorry for the technical issue. My question is for Bob Robichaud in French. Monsieur Robichaud, est-ce que vous confirmez que la situation reste optimale pour lutter contre les feux de forêt? Je crois que vous aviez dit ça lors d'un précédent briefing, qu'avec le montant de pluie, c'était parfait pour le feu.
Oui, absolument. On a vu des quantités de pluie là, qui ont atteint les 40 à 80 mm durant les derniers 2 jours. La pluie va se continuer au cours de la nuit, ainsi que durant la journée de lundi et même mardi matin. On prévoit des averses même dans le milieu de la semaine, vers la fin de la semaine. Donc, on pourrait aller chercher un autre 60 à 80 mm de pluie d'ici l'après-midi de jeudi. Donc, ça voudrait dire qu'il y a des régions qui vont effectivement avoir plus de 100 mm de pluie qui va aider énormément la situation.
Your follow-up, Adrian?
Oui, concernant la qualité de l'air, où en est-on maintenant?
Oui, avec les vents du nord-est qu'on voit présentement, la qualité de l'air, ça s'est amélioré énormément sur le gros de la province. Il y a encore une petite partie au sud-ouest des feux, dans le sud-ouest de la Nouvelle-Écosse. Donc, on a encore un bulletin pour ces régions-là, pour le comté de Shelburne et de Yarmouth. Mais la situation est beaucoup mieux qu'elle était durant les derniers jours.
And that's all the time we have today. I want to thank everyone for taking this time to share this valuable information with Nova Scotians. Take care and be safe out there.
Thank you. Thank you, Heather.
Thanks, Heather.